buy Christmas clothes, Christmas hair, and all that stuff. I'm like, I don't know.
I've already measured my leg with broom, so Christmas shoes coming.
Let's even find out from Gen Zs. Did your mother ever do that to your leg?
Measuring your leg?
Yes, with a broomstick. Did they ever do that
And
to
they
you?
take it to the market. No, this one is butty.
Oh, no. I don't know what the Gen Zs are doing these days. Like,
going to the stores and trying on the shoes. I don't understand.
You don't. So what happens is, because the market sometimes is really crowded and
stuff.
stuff.
So you take a broom, so like you know exactly the measurement.
So yeah, she takes a broom, cuts it on where your leg stops, then takes the broom to the market.
So they can measure. That's actually brilliant. I'm going to do that. I'm going to pull up into a Lucky shop. Broomstick and be like, I don't need to put my leg inside your shoe. I just measure with the broom.
This is witchcraft. That's what they're going to say to people. Anyway, welcome to the Business Clinic today. Of course, what are we doing today?
We are talking about corporate planning and structure for 2023.
Nice.
Yep, we're going to do like Asake and Organise our business.
I mean, Asake seems to be organizing his music, but his concerts, a number of things has been happening. But anyway, we'll not talk about that now.
We won't go there.
Anyway, so how are we going with today's conversation? Remember, you can be a part of the conversation today. If you have questions or contributions, you can call on 081-800-89933 or 081-824-826-591.
Yep, and part of today's conversation will also include a giveaway. Sometime during the show, we'll be asking a trivia question.
Absolutely. If you haven't been part of Dirty December, you have a chance, because I'll be at Murakonla today for the festival. I'm a huge fan of SDC. Show them camp, and they have their thing today. So we'll be giving out the free tickets, but it won't come easy. You have to answer some questions, and we'll give you the tickets.
All right, so you want to make sure you don't miss that. If you are a palm white kind of music person, I hear SDC is showing up. Thames is going to be there. I saw Odusi also in the lineup, YKB, a number of amazing people. So if you want to make sure you win that ticket, you want to stick around this hour to find out what the question is and how you can be a part of the conversation. But only participate with the quiz question if you know you will show up. Don't let people buy a ticket for you and you don't show up, okay?
Right. Okay, so talking about corporate planning and structure, let's start with like the beginning, when things get started. Like, what conversations should leaders be having early on in the formation of their businesses in regards to how to organize it?
Yeah. I think first thing first would be to ask yourself, what are your core values? What are the core values of your business? What are the key things that your business wants to live for? What's that big picture, that big gigantic audacious goal, and that thing you want to chase and you want to live for and die for? Like, I'd like to say, when Apple started, a big audacious vision and their goal was to create simplicity with technology, right? And they've done that with an Apple, and that was actually what inspired them to call it Apple. Like, A for Apple is that simple, so you have to ask yourself, what's that big audacious problem you want to solve? Second thing is, what are your ground rules, the ground rules for your company and from corporate governance? Because if you don't define what you don't want, right, everything that comes your way, you would take. Like they say, if you don't define what you're going to, anywhere you get to will look like it, right? You have to first define what you're going to, then so that anywhere you get to will not look like it, because you're sure where you're going to. So ground rules. What are your shop floor rules? For example, you're a retail, so what are your shop floor rules? So for example, someone who's doing food is saying, one of our rules at shop floor is do not get into the kitchen without covering your head. That's a ground rule, right? Or do not talk to people if you don't have your tags on, so that if you say the wrong things, they can always track you. And I say that all the time. Every time the policeman is acting really to you, you find out that you can't even find his name tag in case you need to report him, right? So that's our ground rule. So I like to say ground rules can be broken into 3 categories. Your shop floor rules, rules in your company, like when you're working, right? So if it was engineering, like say wear your overalls while you're on site. Then you have your management rules. Your management rules are things like, what are those things that is a rule for management? So for example, no meeting must be had. You can't have any meeting without you having a minute of the meeting. Don't start a meeting without a minute of the last meeting, and don't end any meeting without you having resolutions from that meeting. That's a rule, right? Then you can have like another rule, say, okay, every quarter we do retreat, or every month we do appraisals, or every year we do board meeting. That's a rule, right? And you can also have rules like we will not pay you salary. We will not pay you later than the 30th of every month, right? So that's a rule. So I think the first thing is to have your core values, your big audacious goals. The second one is to define your ground rules for your company, broken down to shop floor rules, productivity rules, and management rules. And then lastly, if you ask me, is basically to define what type of people you need in your team and also as customers. I call them avatar. So you've got to say, what is the ideal avatar for my customer? What type of customer do I want to have? Because yes, why Nigerians act like you want all type of customers? Some customers give headache. So when you say, look, I don't want this type of customers. Like a Benz, for example, is not doing low-end cars because they don't want that type of mass market. That's a rule. So you're not going to see, you're just not going to see certain type of things with certain type of brand, right? Yes. So there's a reason why the iPhone hasn't made some certain type of cars, some type of phones, or Tesla hasn't made certain type of cars, right? So I think those things are key. What's your avatar for your company in employees and in customers?
Okay, so we're talking about goals. We're talking about shop floor rules and avatars. Has anybody seen Avatar?
Yes, I did. It was an amazing, it's an amazing movie.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't exactly expecting. I mean, I wasn't sure what to expect.
Ridiculously long,
13
actually.
years after the first one, and we're having another one. I've not seen it. I don't know if I'm ready.
Better wear your glasses when you're going. It's really good, especially when you see it through the lens of like the 3D effects and stuff. It was an amazing movie, but it also shows us something just in relation to this. Is perfection, right? It took him 13 years. James Cameron is a genius, right? And that's how, I mean, the guy did Terminator. He did,
Terminator,
what else did he do?
Titanic.
He did, I mean, he's, him and Steven Spielberg, in my own opinion, are the greatest directors of all time. But then, it also shows you the quality of a team that you have to have. One thing James Cameron won't do is certain type of movies, right? He breaks all the rules, literally. He breaks all the rules, but even though he breaks all the rules, he has some set of ground rules, like the kind of movies he's not going to do, right? So I think every business has to start even next year saying, these are things I will not do next year. There are things I would not do next year. Like, I mean, I was talking to someone today and the guy said, okay, you do a retreat next year. And like, yeah, he says, but I'm going to give you a post-dated check. I said, as a ground rule, we don't do post-dated check in our company. We don't do, I'm too busy to go to EFCC to be chasing somebody up and down, right? So you've got to define if you don't know what you want, it's okay, but define what you don't want. And I say this even in context of relationship. You don't know what you want in a man or a woman, that's fine. But please know what you don't want in a man and a woman. So I don't want somebody that beats me. That is a ground rule. So because sometimes you edge out the things you don't want, and then the things you want that take shape, like carving, basically. So I think that's really what it is.
Great. Awesome. So talk to us about like the importance of corporate governance.
So at the human mind, and I've always said this, there's something the human mind doesn't have the capacity to do, right? So for example, the human mind has the capacity to remember any number above 9. Any set of numbers above 9, people don't actually know that. Like if you that's why your phone number is 11. It's actually not 11, it's 9, because 080 is static, right? Yeah. So there are things the human, like you can't create a solid community above 206 people, right? That's the reason why for a very long time WhatsApp had 250 something people on WhatsApp to expand it. Now it's no longer an intimate group, it's now a community. That's why if you look at the churches, the big churches, when you get too big, they break you into parishes and stuff. So there are things that the human mind doesn't have capacity to do. Now in corporate governance, the human mind doesn't have the capacity to consistently be diligent and accountable without having accountability systems. So we all go off the tangent once in a while. Like, so that's what you don't realize. Like when you see men who misbehave or women who misbehave or even politicians who misbehave, it's just their human nature showing up. I read this book by Robert Greene, the author of 40 Laws of Power, 33 Strategies of War and Mastery. And he's talked about, there's a new book he wrote called The Law of Human Nature. And it just hit me like the human nature is narcissist in itself. So, but some people are more narcissist than others, right? It's like a spectrum, right? Some people have the extreme end of it. Now, corporate governance is really about you creating barricades to curb your excesses. It's like self-therapy, right? So every great business has to have a board that when you want to misbehave, you're looking at what would your board say. I was at an amazing wedding this weekend. Shout out to Ogona, happy married life. And everybody that mattered was in that wedding. I mean, Peter Obi was there. Almost all the governors were there. The Emir of Kano was there. And I remember one of my clients who I know who's like a billionaire in dollars, and everybody's spraying money. And I just joked to him. I said, I'll go and spray money. This guy drives a Rolls Royce, drives a Maybach. I said, go and spray money. Now the guy now laughed. I said, let me not lie. As an Igbo man, I like to spray money, but my board can't see that. you know,
Wow.
and that hits my spirit. Like you said, my board wouldn't let me do that. Right, then they're going to query me the next day. And this guy runs a big pharmaceutical company who is supposed to say it's my business, supposed to carry that whole ego of it's my business, I can do what I want to do. We all need that one person who, so that's the first thing. The board is for accountability. One is for confidence. If I'm going to be an investor, I'll invest in you if you have a board, right? Because it means that there's continuity plan, right? If things happen, you know, what happens is that someone can step in because there's a team behind you. It's different to say I and our, right? We, us. I rather, when you say us, when I say we, when I say our, when I say we will send you an invoice, right? We will get it done. It gives more confidence than I will get it done, right? So I think accountability is key. I think that's the reason why you set up a board. You set up a board for accountability. You set up a board also for access. When push come to shove, right? Businesses have cash flow issues sometimes. I was with the MD of Wakana 2 days ago, and we're having a conversation, and it was just talking about how even as big as those companies are, they have like cash flow. And one of the good things is they were saying cash is king, cash is king, cash is king. But I'm like, because for the time when there's just cash ratio, and we're saying this in relation to when they had COVID. I mean, it's an airline ticketing. Wakana is not the biggest airline ticketing thing. Yeah. Nobody was flying. So what do you do at that point? Now your board can show up for you, right? Access and say, okay, you know what? Oh, let me give an example. You have on your board a director of a bank. The director of the bank and shop and say, okay, no, I know you well enough. I know your business well enough. I sit on your board. I will stand for you to get money short term to clot your bleeding and give you back. So access is key, right? Access to network. I mean, you have a board. You're trying to talk to certain people. You can just chat your board members and say, oh, please, do you know so person? So your board is always people who are way ahead of you. People who are assigned to you on a higher level, right? So let me give you an example. You're into importation, and for some strange reason, customs decides to do what customs would do, and then your containers sort of like they impound your containers for no good reason, and you just need somebody to talk to on a high level. But hey, you sit on a board and you have maybe one of the Adamawa big boys, like the Fulani big boys, and you say, oh, by the way, do you know the DG of customs? That's your board. You're asking. I says, yeah, we went to school together, and maybe says me now, something like that. Oh, I can set up a meeting. That's what your board would do for you. Yeah. Right. That's what your board. I mean, for years when Apple had their issues, Steve Jobs would go back to Hewlett. Hewlett is Hewlett Packard, the owner of HP, and say, oh, you know what? We all need that. Like the greatest leader of all time, if you ask me, apart from the religious leader, is a guy called Alexander the Great. But you see, what made Alexander the Great is the fact that he had people like Aristotle and Plato, right, and Socrates behind him. So there's always an issue which created what you call the Oracle of Delphi. We all need oracles in our lives, right? You know, the oracle is like that higher being you go to when things happen, like almost like the practical way to say corporate godfatherism, right? We all need that, right? When and especially in a country like Nigeria, where as you go higher, it gets colder, people start to return to you politically. You need somebody you can put on speed dial and say, look, I can don't talk to me like this, because I can report you to somebody, right? So I think I thrown a lot of light on why you need a board. Everybody needs a board.
All right. It's still the business show today, and we're talking about corporate governance and planning. Remember, if you have any question or you want to contribute to the conversation today, you can call on 081-824-26591 or 081-800-89933. SA and Izzy would make sure that they answer all of your questions, and also just stick around because there's going to be a giveaway today. You don't want to miss that.
Great. So Isu said snitching is a good thing.
Snitching is a good thing.
That's what he said. He said, like, you have somebody that you can report to. Yeah. This goes against, like, all laws of the streets. Like, they come find you. As you are snitching and reporting, don't end up with stitches. Anyways. So talking about boards and corporate governance, at what phase as a business do you then decide, okay, I need to put together a board?
I would always say the earlier the better, right? But not too early, and I'll tell you why. You need proof of concept, right? Because everything that has an advantage has a disadvantage. I can tell you for a fact. While we all talk about the nice things about having a board and having a structure, and I said this in one of our breakfast sessions in Eco Hotel, and people didn't, I think it went over people's head, so they argued it, that I said, look, structure, the side effect of structure is reduction in speed. Right, because the more structure you have, the more bureaucratic your process is, right? So sometimes you want to collect something as small as statement of origin from your local government, and they tell you come today, come tomorrow. It's structure that's causing it, because it has to be signed by the permanent secretary, who has to be signed by this, signed by that, signed to you have to get. So understand is that when you start up a business, your greatest asset as a startup is speed.
Yeah.
Right, speed. You see, I go to the bank, a big bank, and the bank says, "Oh, you know what? We're closed at 4." Right? You can't maybe withdraw money. I'm just saying, I don't have an ATM. Right? The POS person next with an umbrella can't be telling me it's 4:00. That's a small business, right? And always remember, every time I talk about this, guys, I always say, remember David and Goliath. What Goliath used to be, what David used to kill Goliath wasn't the stone; it was speed. It was speed. The Bible says, and he ran round Goliath, right? And he threw something really fast at him, which was the sling and the stone, right? As you see, because I have a problem when small businesses pretend to be big businesses. Like, why? Like, how you a poor man trying to pretend that you have big man problem? That big man problem, like that. There are actually problems in Nigeria that are big men problem. Like you can't be having certain type of, cannot be living face my face and be having side chick problem. Like, oh God, where is the side chick? Where you carry the side chick to?
Living a champagne life with a pure water budget.
With a pure water budget. I mean, you cannot be having pot belly as a poor man. Like, guy, it doesn't fit. Like, if you're really big, I come out, you can call your sugar daddy, like, because you're pot belly. And this is me just being sarcastic. But here's the real issue, right? Speed is important. So I think that when you start up, because speed is your biggest competitive advantage, and don't compare competitive advantage, you might need to slow down on having a board so that you can move really fast, because there are things you want to do split second that you need to consult with the board. And for example, if you have the right board, they're not even in Nigeria if they're big boys. So they want to set up a meeting to discuss something real quick. And one says I'm in France, and one says, oh, one says I'm Paris, one says I'm in Saint-Tropez, the other says I'm in Madrid. It's harder to put them all together in a place. And then on top of that, sometimes, right, you need to make split second decisions. And sometimes you need to even make the wrong decisions to arrive at the right places. Right? So it's actually a thing. You need to sometimes. The Bible is filled with so many people that did the wrong decisions and end up in the right place. It's part of the growth process. Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn, right? So I would suggest that till you have your proof of concept, right? Run alone. There's a part to go fast. There's a part to go far. You start with going fast, then you slow down and you start to go far. So because you need that speed, a one-man business would always start. Then maybe 1 year, 2 years to your business. When you now start to want to raise money, you quickly do. I remember I started my business at 22, 23. There wasn't a lot of corporate governance, because I'm the kind of person who back then, because speed was really important. I mean, I can take companies' money quickly to run something quickly and then put it back quickly. But I can't do that now, because people have to ask you that to explain all of that and all of this. So the key thing is, earlier you start, the better. But I would suggest that for the first few months, run alone. When you get co-founders, get a co-founder before you get a board. I think that's a key variable.
All right. Remember, I'm still talking about corporate governance and planning today. If you have any questions, 081-8008-9933 or 081-824-826-591. Still the business show on Hot FM 93.3.
Keep it hot 93.
Ghana welcomes you and the rest of the world to Afro Nation 2022. The fun begins on the 29th to the 30th of December at Accra Marine Drive, Black Star Square. Live on stage, Meat Mill, Skepta, P Square, Rema, Stoneboy, Asake, and many more. To purchase your general admission day tickets, dial *920*60*00# or call 233-5930-42868. Physical tickets are also available in Accra outlets, including Telefonica shops and airport shelves.
It's about to be a December of glamour and Thanksgiving as legendary artist Limpopo Master KC presents Thanksgiving Festival. It promises to be a night of celebrations, cultural praise, electrifying performances of hits after hits by KC, alongside support from the biggest names in the music and comedy industry. Happening on the 28th of December at the Ecole Talent Suites from 7 p.m. This festival is for everyone that has a reason to thank God for his blessings and protections through the years. Tickets are available on NaraBox.com. For tables and sponsorship inquiries, please call 0806-060-5050 or 0803-4455-686. This event is hosted by E-Money and brought to you by Achievers Entertainment and 5-Star Music. The Thanksgiving Festival with KC.
Xavia is a business and management consultant firm with over 128 businesses restructured, 200 and more businesses started, 2 MBAs, a decade of experience. We can take your business to a whole new level.
The Business Show with Hexavia. It's the business clinic on radio. Come, learn and solve problems around strategy and structure. Growing your business. Join Izu, Daisy and Essay every Thursday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Hot 93.3.
And we're back at the Business Show with Hexavia, with Izu and Essay and Udoka. How are y'all doing?
Good. All right, so today we're talking about corporate governance as well as planning. If you have any question, you can call on 081-800-89933 or 081-824-26591. Or you can send your questions or contributions via WhatsApp to 081-800-89933. So before we went on that break, Essay asked a question about when you should create your board. But I'm also wondering, how do you select the kind of people that you want on your board?
So let me, this just came out top of my head. Let me call it the 3 C's of selecting, right? One would be competence. The second would be character. And the third one would be connections, right? Set up someone, to have someone be on your board, you have to ask, does he have the competence, right? Does he have a skill set you need for your business? Because has he done what you're about to do? For example, if I set up a fintech company right now and I can get someone like a Michel Alegbe on my board, that would be a hit. Michel Alegbe is the founder of InterSwitch, right? So I can get the Shola of Paystack, right? You know, those are veterans in the tech space, right? So competence, I can even call it in metaphor capabilities, right? The second one is connections. Does he have access, whether access to other people or even access to fund, right? And then lastly is character, right? Matter of fact, the person doesn't have number 3, don't bother with number 1 and number 2. Does he have character? Don't bother with 1 or 2, because you can have 1 or 2 and you still can't trust the person. Character is key in anything that anybody does. So I think that's the answer. Absolutely.
So talk to us about, let's get a little elementary about things. There's owners, there's shareholders, there's board people, there's all sorts of people who are all up in your business, trying to tell you what to do. What are their specific roles?